A team at AWS deleted the vector database out of a working retrieval system this year, swapped in 3 command line tools that predate the AI boom, and kept over 90% of the accuracy. And I know how that sounds. You picked an embedding model. You argued with somebody about chunk size. There's a serverless index on your bill that runs whether anyone queries it or not, and here comes a paper saying grep would have covered it. Cleanest constraint experiment I've seen all year. One hard rule, no vector store, one number at the end. By the time we're done, you'll know which 90% survives, which 10 doesn't, and where the cost you deleted quietly reappears. Because it does, and I'll show you the receipt. The paper is called Keyword Search is All You Need. It went up on ArcSiv in February, presented at II 2026. So what did the AWS team actually build? They set the comparison up so nothing but the constraint could explain the result. Same model on both sides. Claude 3 Sonnet, 200,000 tokens of context, temperature near 0 so it couldn't get creative. Same 6 document sets. Same scoring harness. One difference, and only one. The retriever. On one side, the setup, Chop everything into 300 token chunks with 20% overlap. Embed them. Push them into an OpenSearch serverless index. Pull back the top 5 per question. On the other side, nothing. No embedding model, no index, nothing stored. Just an agent in a reasoning loop holding 3 Linux commands: pdfmetadata, ripgrep-all, and pdfgrep. It searches, reads what came back, then decides whether to search again. Most people's video production has the exact same shape. A layer you bolted on to help, sitting on top of the layer that's actually doing the work. Zonix Motion collapses that middle layer. It's a motion graphics agent that runs inside your IDE. Script in, voiceover file in, and a few minutes later out comes a finished video with the aura, the glow, and the subtle movement already on it. No editor, no timeline, no render queue. It runs on your AI agent subscription, so no credit spend and no appy meter ticking, and you buy it once. Voxera is that same trade pointed at Vox-style video, one click instead of a week of manual work. Links to both sit in the description whenever you want them. The AWS team ran all 6 datasets through both setups, 94.5%. That's how much of RAG's faithfulness the agent held with no vector database anywhere, faithfulness being how often the answer actually matched the evidence retrieved. Answer correctness landed at 91.5% of the baseline. Context recall, 88%. Hold on to that last one. And on one of the 6, the constraint didn't just hold, it won. FinanceBench is real financial filings, and both scores sit low, which tells you it's brutal for everybody. The RAG pipeline managed about 24%. The agent holding grep came back with almost 33%. That isn't 90% of RAG. That's 8 points better than RAG, on exactly the kind of document semantic search is supposed to own. This constraint isn't only living in research. It's been running as a dare in open source for a year. April of last year, Thorsten Ball published a post called How to Build an Agent and did the whole thing in under 400 lines of Go, no framework anywhere in it. 3 tools: read_file, list_files, edit_file. 6 words is how he described what he'd made: an LNM, a loop, and enough tokens. A month later, a developer named Radan Skoric rebuilt it in Ruby in 94 lines, because most of Ball's 400 was boilerplate. This February, somebody posted theirs to Hacker News. Build a coding agent in 500 lines, pure Python, no vector DBS. The language changes every time. The rule doesn't. Go and look at your own agent's tool list. If there are more than 5 things on it, ask which ones the model would have found on its own. The clearest account of why that works came from Gregor Zunic at Browser Use in January, in a post called The Bitter Lesson of Agent Frameworks. They'd built version 1 on thousands of lines of abstraction, and his verdict was blunt. They worked, he said, until we tried to change anything, and every experiment fought the framework. Agent frameworks don't fail because the models are weak. They fail because the abstraction freezes the action space, the moves the agent is allowed to make, at whatever the author imagined a year ago, while the model underneath kept getting better. Zunic puts 99% of the work inside the model itself, which makes every helper you wrap around it a wall between what the model learned and what your code lets it reach. It's hiring someone fluent in 6 languages and handing them a phrasebook. Anthropic wrote the same thing in December 2024. The most successful implementations use simple, composable patterns rather than complex frameworks. Cline shipped this same constraint into a product people use daily. Nick Bauman wrote it up in May of last year in one line. No RAG, no embeddings, no vector databases. And their argument was never about accuracy. Chunk a codebase and you tear its logic apart, a function in one chunk with its definition 800 chunks away, and the index starts going stale the second somebody merges. Except every one of those searches starts from zero, and nobody deleting their vector database this week has priced that. Cheney Zhang wrote the counterargument at Milvis last August, and the specifics are hard to dodge. The index you removed was the thing that meant you paid once. Without it, the agent regreps the entire repository every time, hauling back 500 lines of text to find the 10 that mattered. 30 to 40%. That's how much token load proper semantic retrieval strips out at the same recall. So the constraint doesn't delete the cost. It moves it out of storage and infrastructure, into tokens and turns. And that 88% context recall is the weakest of the three numbers for a reason. Roughly 1 in 8 pieces of evidence RAG found, the keyword agent walked straight past. The Oz paper's own limitations section says the rest. It degrades on very large documents, ambiguous queries give it trouble, and anything that isn't text is out of scope. So should you rip the vector database out of whatever you're running tonight? No. Not at 88% recall, and not if a miss is expensive. The Oz result is a ceiling on how much that index is actually buying you, not permission to bin it. Is this just RAG with extra steps? No, and the difference is where the retriever sits. Classic RAG retrieves once, blind, before the model has thought about anything at all. Here the searching happens inside the reasoning loop. The agent looks, reads what came back, and decides whether to look again. Same tools, different position. Does it kill agent frameworks? No, it sets a bar. Your abstraction now has to be worth more than the capability it hides. And most of them were never measured against that at all. Count the layers in whatever agent you're running right now, between the model and the tool it eventually calls. Then name the job each one does, out loud. If you get past 2 and start guessing, that's your answer. And it's the answer the Oz team got by deleting theirs. That's the whole result, stated flat. 3 command line tools and a loop did over 90% of a vector database's job. Not because grep is clever. Grep is the least clever thing in the building. It's that the model got good enough that the scaffolding we built to prop it up became the main thing in its way. The constraint didn't make the system worse. It made it legible. That argument has a version that lands on your desk instead of on a benchmark. Every hour you spend hand-assembling a video is a layer between the thing you actually made, the script and the read, and the thing that ships. Zonix Motion is that layer, gone. You hand the agent a script and a voiceover track, press enter, then go do something else while it builds the finished video, motion graphics included. Pay once, keep it, and it runs on the agent subscription you're already paying for instead of burning credits. Voxera does the Vox-style version for roughly 1/10 of what a professional editor charges, and there's one honest string attached. It needs Higgsfield credits sitting in your account because that style is expensive to render. Both are linked below. No countdown, no discount clock. If you'd rather have the measured version of a story than the confident one, subscribe. Measured is pretty much the only thing I'm selling here. I'll see you in the next one.